All right, maybe some of you guys already know this. I feel like every time I discover something cool or new, it's like, yeah, where you been? It's about time you figured that out. So maybe I'm a slow learner here. But I just decided, I'm going to try to figure out a way to not have so many notes on one verse. If there's a way of possibly reducing these down, because sometimes I'll have, on a very important verse, I might have 10 notes, and these are all notebooks. Usually I'll take a verse because it's so powerful and I'll stick it into different notebooks. Like right here, these are all different notebooks. So instead of having all these tags right here on this verse, all these notebooks, I should say, what I did was I opened each one up individually. I opened it up, came over here one at a time, and I tagged it at the bottom, Colossians 1:9. And I did that to every single one of these. I opened it up and tagged it at the bottom. Opened it up, tagged it at the bottom. So maybe I can delete these notes. And I have to understand that at powerful verses like this, maybe I can just put a little indicator here somehow, letting myself know that there's a lot of notebooks attached to this. And I still have to figure that out. But removing all the notebooks and just somehow, I'll figure out how to let myself know, maybe with one note here, that I've got a lot of notebooks here. And see, I can delete these notes now. Why? Because, well, for instance, they're all right here. If I go over here and let me just show you. If I were to search for all the notes that are attached to this, let's say these are all disappeared here, and I indicate, hey, I've got a lot of notebooks attached to this one verse. What I could do is come over here and search for the tag. Just type in the Bible verse, right? The Bible verse. What is it? It's Colossians 1 verse 9. There it is. And I click on it, and then all the notebooks that were attached to that verse open up, every single one that I have there. So technically I can come over here and delete these, because right over here on the right side, all I have to do is tag the one. Now that's just an option. I'm not saying I'm going to do that, but it might help in cases where I've got all these notebooks attached to one verse. So let me just run a quick test on this. Let me go with just this very first one here, and let's go ahead and unanchor it. Let's just unanchor it, and it'll disappear on the left side. There you go, and there goes one. I just detached, if you will. Let me try. Let's see. Let's go with the next one here, if that's the next one. Let's bring that up so I can stay in order. I want to stay in order. Which ones are next here? If it'll let me. Oh, it can't. You can't move these around when you're only in searching the tags. I gotcha. I just found that out. All right, so let's remove the next one. I'm untagging it, and just running an experiment here. I'm just going to run an experiment and untag all these and see if it's going to hurt me in my understanding on how to find these things. If I'm running across this verse, my only problem is if I'm running across this verse and I need the notebooks that are in that verse, you could easily now they're supposed to be coming back with the idea that you can hover your mouse over it and it'll tell you what notebook it's in. Right now, that was the way it was in Logo 7. What a powerful thing. You could hold your mouse over the note and it would tell you what book it was in. And they said they're bringing that back. Also, when you click on the note, it's supposed to open the whole notebook and not just one little note in the notebook. Okay, so they're going to be getting back to those things they said. So hopefully that's true. But the point is, now I don't have any notes over here at all. And I guess it can look a lot better when you're reading without having a bunch of notebooks in there. But now I can't just click on the notebook and open it up. It could be a disadvantage or an advantage to not having a bunch of notebooks attached to the verse. If you got 10 notebooks attached to the verse, it could be an advantage or a disadvantage. So now if I want to see what notebooks are attached to this verse, I literally got to come over here and type in the verse, because I've tagged every single notebook that was over there. I've tagged it. And when I hit the tag, Colossians 1:9, because that's what the verse is, Colossians 1:9, all the notebooks that are attached to that verse will pop up right here. So I think it's just a matter of preference. I'm not sure if I want to go this route yet, but I like having the option. It does seem intriguing and interesting, knowing that I can clean up my Bible a whole lot more and not have a bunch of notebooks on one verse like that. But then again, I may forget that I have certain notebooks attached to this. But if I'm doing research and I want to include this verse in any one of my studies or presentations or Bible videos or anything that I'm doing, then I could just type in the verse itself. If I get used to doing this, in other words, if I know practically all my verses are tagged with notebooks. For instance, let's go to, 2 Corinthians 5:10. 2 Corinthians 5:10 has a lot. Corinthians 5:10 has a lot of notebooks on it, I think. Yeah, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 notebooks on this, the judgment seat of Christ. So, I got the option right now of just basically clicking them on and having them open up over here, right? And so the idea is, do I really want to get rid of them and make some more room? Because sometimes it's nice to just click on these things and see what's going on with it. Say, I can come over here and check out, oh, that's neat. I got a whole bunch of this looks neat. Look at all this stuff I got on the works, dead works. So I got a bunch of good things right here already organized that I can quickly access by just simply clicking on this and giving myself a reminder of what book it's in. It'll pop up over here on the right side. Well, in the future, when you click on these, like I said, it's not just going to open up one little note. It'll open up the whole notebook, and that's going to be handy. So I'm just running through this brainstorming idea about possibly removing the notes if there's too many of them, and maybe just getting it to where I'll have to tag the verse. In other words, let's go ahead and do it. Let's open up each one of these. I'm going down to the bottom of it right over here. And I'm just going to type in 2 Corinthians. You got to remember how you do it. I do it a certain way. I always do it that way. So when I tag, it's going to be with the dot after it and a semicolon in there. That's just the way I do it. So I always know that. That's how I'm going to do it. So let me tag that one. Click the next one. Copy and paste that tag in there. And then when I do all of these, I have the option of basically deleting these up here, at least the indicators, and getting rid of it and cleaning up my Bible. So let me do the last couple more here. I'm not saying I want to do that. I'm just saying that it may come in handy sometimes to do that and to get rid of all these different. But then again, I may be wondering, I may just want to simply click on it and open up some of the, to get inspired, open up some of the things that I may want to use it later. I might not want to have to come up here, for instance, like this, tag it in. First, we got to get rid of this one. And then we're looking for this tag. Now I got 6 of them. If I click on that, there we go. Now all 6 of those notebooks are going to open up over here, right? So there you go. Let me go back to Revelation. Let's see, where were we at? 2 Corinthians 5:10. So I have the option now of just keeping them on this verse or just deleting them. I don't need this general note one here, do I? I see this. If I tag this up here, judgment seat of Christ, tag it down here also, judgment seat of Christ. Let's do that. Judgment seat of Christ. Okay. So now if I want to find anything to do with the judgment seat of Christ on this general note, it's in the general notes anyway, a couple of verses that relate to one another there, then I can just untag myself and then I can remove that particular tag right here. But what's good about this is if I hover my mouse over these and I can quickly look at that, look at the reference there. Now I know Romans 14. Check this out. See, what's good about keeping them here is just to quickly peek inside them and get a reference idea. So if I'm at 2 Corinthians 5:10, for we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, I'm thinking to myself, I know there's another scripture like that talks about the same thing. Which one is it? See, I got a note right here reminding me. It's Romans chapter 14, verse 10. So if I remove these tags, these symbols, I might scratch my head and go, man, there's another scripture that talks about the judgment seat of Christ. Which one is it? Which one is it? And if my note's not here, there it is. I'm going to have to come over here and tag and then scroll through each one of these tags until that one may not pop up. I might have to go, where is that? Where is that? Oh, there it is. There it is. Romans 14:10. So having a few notes up here for the case of cross-referencing, I wouldn't want to delete this one. I guess it just depends. God will judge the good and the bad. See, there's another cross-reference. Ecclesiastes 12:14. I wouldn't know that in a quick, look right here if I didn't have this note right here, which is, I may not like the whole idea of taking everything away. Now, this is a whole notebook. Let's look at this. The whole notebook right here. The judgment seat of Christ. Okay, that's this particular note in general notes. So my question is, why isn't this in the judgment seat of Christ? See, I want to come down here and tag that. This particular note, the judgment seat of Christ, I want to tag that down here because I may find that's a better way of finding this one particular note in the tags when I'm tagging here, instead of trying to open up the whole notebook. I don't know. I'm just experimenting and flowing around here, trying to figure out which ways are better to do. All of this is about the judgment seat of Christ. Because that's the verse I'm on. So I could actually take all of these and probably tag them. Did you know you could tag all of them at once? Let's go. This is something that I learned. You click the top one, hold down the shift key and select all of them. And then right here, and you'll see a bunch of things right here. Scroll down to where you could type in the tag, and then judgment seat of Christ for all of them, and then apply to all. Boom. Click on one of them, and then every single, see the judgment seat of Christ is, well, you can't see it because of that thing's in the way, but they're all right there. Let me get rid of that banner. You probably couldn't see me tagging all those. The judgment seat of Christ, right there. It's going to be in every single one. There it is, in that one, and that one, and that one. Real easy if you want to tag more than one. So anyway, this might be helpful. It might be annoying. I don't know. It's something I'm thinking about doing here. I'm not sure what the best way to approach these notes when you got so many notes on one verse. I think some of them you need to keep there, and maybe perhaps some of them you don't need there. So I'm tagging this verse with every single note that I have there, and then that'll be a backup in case they accidentally get deleted. For one thing, you can have them tagged. That way you can't accidentally delete them. So if I accidentally remove this right here, remove annotation, I have it tagged on that verse, Colossians 2:5, over here in the bottom right. You can see it's tagged. 2 Corinthians 5:10, I mean. So if I accidentally remove that annotation, oh, it's going to remove all of them, by the way. Don't click this remove annotations, because it will remove all your annotations on the whole verse. I found that out the hard way. Yes, indeedy, I did. So you may not need all your notebooks attached to here. You may want to keep them all attached. You may only want one or two for cross-reference purposes or whatever. But anyway, I love you guys. Talk to you later. God bless each and every one of you. Peace.